Today, I tackle the biggest mechanical job on the 80 thus far. I install some pod gauges and work out how much boost we're making, and I finally get some awesome bar work on the 80. Alright guys, welcome back to Aussie Arvos. Today, the 80's back. We've got a few things to do on it, we've got a few mods to put on it, and we've got some mechanical routine maintenance to do on it. So, we're going to be doing the timing belt, the water pump, and the thermostat, and all the new radiator hoses, seals, stuff like that. So, we've got a bit of work to do on it over the next couple of days, but get in the shed, get into it, and then we'll get into the fun stuff with the mods. So yeah, let's get into it. So first up is the timing belt. Now a lot of you did mention this when I did the radiator. You said, why didn't you do the timing belt in the water pump? Why did you drop the coolant? Great, I should have really done that, but I'm going to do it now. So it's about 10,000 Ks off its 400,000th birthday, which essentially means like the timing belts are meant to be done every 100,000 Ks on these cruisers. So we're gonna do timing belt, and while I'm there, do the water pump, because to access the water pump in these, you need to take the timing belt off. So while it's out, do the water pump, even though it's okay. We also do the thermostat while the coolant's out. New radiator hoses all around, new cam seal, and yeah, so that's gonna be the mission. So let's get straight on into it. So doing the timing belt might seem like a daunting job, but it's actually not that bad once you get into it. Now, the 1H DT is an interference engine, which means if the timing belt was to break or not be in correct sync, the pistons would hit the valves, which results in a very costly day. Other far less superior motors like the TD42 are gear driven, whereas this is gear driven from the crank to the injector pump, and then a belt from the injector pump to the cam. Now, I spoke to Dan about this. He said it was to do with vibrations, and when I had a look around, they also said it was a bit quieter as well. But let me know your thoughts on gear driven versus belts versus even timing chains. But essentially, this is just a belt, so replaceable part, gotta do it, so let's get on to it. So before removing the belt, we must align the engine to bottom dead center. So to do this, we're going to manually turn over the engine via the crank until we hit a small marker on the camshaft sprocket, and we're also going to double check this with the marking on the injector pump as well. Once it's all aligned, we can safely take off the belt, knowing that when we put it back on, everything will be in sync. Now, if you're just doing the timing belt, you'd be done here, but I kept stripping it down to get to the water pump. The biggest thing in this job was the cleaning. Like, I spent more time cleaning than on the tools. It was absolutely essential that all the surfaces were super clean, so when I put it all back together, the gasket glue would stick and stop any oil or water from the water pump from leaking. So with a new water pump, a new timing belt, new hoses, new belts, and thermostat, we were ready to do the mods. Today, what I'm going to start doing is actually putting the gauges on, finally. So we got a boost and EGT gauge, like a 2-in-1, and we've got a water temp gauge. I've got a pillar pod too. I bought a SAS pillar pod because I'll talk about why I bought that one later. But yeah, so I got that to go in, and yeah, we'll wire up all the sensors and then we'll find out how much boost I'm getting and what the EGTs are. So car's been going pretty good. Hasn't been on the channel in a while, but I've been doing a lot of trips in it, and yeah, it just keeps on ticking. So it's going well. But we'll get on to doing these gauges right now. So what gauges am I using? Well, I'm using the Just Race Parts edge display gauge, which is basically just a 52mm pod gauge. So made by obviously the same company that did Liam's gauges, but instead of being like a 14-in-1 display, it's just your standard pod gauge. So it actually looks super clean. So yeah, I'm gonna put them in, and to hold I'm gonna put them in, obviously boost water EGT, and to hold them, I just bought a SAS pillar pod. There was some other ones out there, but everyone said the SAS ones fit the best, and they are the cheapest. So pillar pod in, wire up the gauges, and yeah, essentially boost EGTs and water temp. But I'm gonna hold off on the water temp because the top water hosing here is a bit thin, and I'm not actually gonna be able to tap into it. I thought it might have had a blank spot on it to tap into. It actually doesn't. This is a 91 model 1H DT, and it's only from 92 upwards where they had actually a spot where you could, where they had a factory temp gauge in there. So I'm gonna get another outlet housing for that top bit, and then I should be able to do the water temp. So yeah, we'll just get started on the other ones for now. So doing the gauges is really easy. You're essentially just putting in 3 probes, with the first one being into my exhaust. Alright, so because I've got the Legend X 3-inch exhaust, it actually has a spot to put an EGT gauge in it. So that was easy enough. I could just undo that bolt. It was pretty tough because obviously it's been the exhaust, but got it out. And then my GRP EGT sensor should just be able to screw straight on into that, and then can wire up the EGT gauge. And then for my boost, I was able to just tee it off my factory boost line. So after getting those sensors in, I fired up the gauges to make sure they work. They did, they looked mint. So just like the 14M1, you need power, ignition, and earth, and illumination. So luckily the Land Cruisers have this factory power outlet box in the engine bay, which basically makes it easy as. So it's to wire all them in, ram my probes through the firewall, and then up the side of the dash to my pillar. You can daisy chain the power from one gauge to another, which also helps reduce the amount of wires coming through. I also drilled out 2 small holes for the buttons, which allows me to navigate the menu, change the colors, set warnings, etc. And with all this done, it was time to take it for a drive. Alright, so we've got the gauges running. I still got to calibrate them all and mess around with them, but they're all in the car. They got the little toggle buttons here to do things. I still have to research, look into what it all does. But this is its first sort of test run out on the road. 8.5 is... Alright, so I've calibrated the boost on the gauges, and now I'm ready to give you the actual boost we're getting and EGTs. So let's just hit a hill and see what we get. The classic hill climb me and Liam do. We'll see what the boosts are doing, keep an eye on the EGTs. So we're already at 9.7 PSI there. 8.4, 9.3, 10.1, 10.3. 10.3 seems to be our limit. EGTs around 400. Obviously, it's not a super hot day and we just started driving really, so 10.5. Yeah, so it looks like about that 10.5 mark is what sort of boost we're getting, which is pretty good. The gauge has been super responsive actually. It's reacts pretty damn well. I haven't set up warnings or anything, but yeah, it looks good. They sit in there nice, they don't jiggle around. The SAS holder actually fits pretty damn well. It was easy to install, so that was good. And yeah, they do the trick. Haven't really played around with colors much, but I can turn the lights on and make it go red, which is pretty cool. But yeah, anyway, 10.5 PSI is what we're getting. So I think, I mean, I haven't really done a lot of research what other 1Edge GTs get with a standard CT26, but that's what mine's doing, so yeah. Alright guys, so today is another very exciting day for the 80 series. We're putting on rock sliders. Now, not just any rock sliders. We have the Legend X rock sliders for the 80 series. So these are obviously pre-made, ready to go. 4mm tube, 4mm box. It's got some insert panels here to stop anything coming up and hitting your seals. They look so nice, and they're gonna get literally bolt straight on the car. So it should be a 10-minute job to go from these factory to these aftermarket rock sliders. So I'm so stoked. I can't wait to get them on and take it out to the tracks and see how they perform, because that was my biggest thing. Like, I really want to go forward driving in this, but I was waiting until I got some proper underbody protection, because I mean, you get one rock, stick, anything in these seals or your door, it's just like, they're there for life essentially. So can't wait to get these on. They're gonna look mint, so let's go ahead, get these old side steps off, throw the new Legend X rock sliders on. You know how Dan in the last video, Liam, said like a million times they take all the hard work out of it? Well, in this today, they really take all the hard work out of it. Yeah, so we've taken the old side steps off, and with all the old bolts, we're putting them back into their holes, just because, you know, don't want water getting into your sills and stuff, so for all the old bolts back in. Alright, side steps are all off. And the car looks like it's got a lot more clearance, don't you reckon, without side steps on it?
I suppose, yeah.
But I reckon you have to be pretty game to go out 4-bin with literally no protection under your sills like that.
Yeah.
Look how exposed you'd be, but yeah, well, time to get the sliders on. Alright, so it's time to put the sliders on. As you can see, it's got this kicker here. So what essentially the kicker's for is if you're heading down a really rutted track or whatever, or the tree stump or something, the minute it hits this rear kicker, it's going to push your car out the way of that object and save your rear quarters from getting hit. So that's a really good feature. It's on a lot of rock sliders, and it's there for a great reason. It's really protecting those rear quarters from anything by pushing your car out the way. It's also got these infills here, which are really good in case you go into a bog hole or something, and there's sticks in there that want to push up. This will stop any sticks or crap smashed into your sills or into your doors. So that's also a really good thing about these sliders. So yeah, pretty much they're all perfectly suited for the 80, so it's literally just bolt the thing up and should be good to go. So let's get into it. And they're the Legend X rock sliders on the car. I'm so stoked with them. For something you can just buy and bolt in 10 minutes and get that look is absolutely insane. Like, they look sick, they're tough as nails, and they're not going anywhere. So big shout out to Barney and the team at Legend X who made this happen. So super generous of you guys, and thank you so much because they look freaking sick. I can't wait to actually get out on the tracks and use them. So that's gonna be the next thing, is actually getting this car out there and using it. So can't wait for that to happen, because you see, I mean, most of the cars around Melbourne that are doing like hardcore 4B and week in, week out, they all run bar work. They don't go anywhere near there without it. And I can see why, because it's often, you know, bar work's gonna save you from smashing all that in. Bar work's you're gonna be leaning on it on tracks, literally leaning on your bar work. So good mod to have, essential. You saw Dan do it straight away. So yeah, so to get it out and see how the sliders perform. But if you do want to get the Legend X sliders, for some exhaust systems, you might need to let them know what size exhaust you're running, just so all setups are a bit different. They can accommodate for all exhaust setups. So hit up Team Legend X and they can sort you out. But yeah, awesome stuff. I'm so keen to try it. Also stoked to have the JRP Edge gauges in the car. So having the pod gauge is sick. Like, it kind of, you get warnings, you still get all the customization, but you get the 52mm gauge look, and that's what I love. So hopefully soon I'll have this water temp up and running. I'm either gotta get a $110 part from Toyota, get a new outlet housing that has a port on it for water temp, or JRP do an adapter for the hose, like those little, basically you can put the radiator hoses together and run a 8th MTT sensor off there to get in. So one of them two will come hopefully, and I'll get the water temp working. But nah, it's good to be able to monitor what's going on inside your engine. As like Liam said, first mod Liam did after doing the turbo with sensors, and I think it is a really important one, especially on turbocharged cars. So great to have it in there, good peace of mind, and yeah, just stoked with how it turned out. So yeah, I'm loving the 80, just got to get outside and actually be able to use it. So that's what we're looking forward to. But next few weeks in lockdown, we've got a heap of cool mods coming on the cars, on a lot of the cars actually. So stick around, get subscribed, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.